Yo, welcome everybody. Now I know the Summon Necro is kind of the talk of the town here in this new season of Diablo 4, the Loot Reborn. But if you haven't tried this Dust Devil Whirlwind Barbarian, it is absolutely spectacular. Now on the right side of the screen, I'm going to go over, you'll see all the skill tree and the Paragon board and the gear, the different aspects I have on. On the left side of the screen, I'm going to be having some example gameplay while I show that all off. So we'll start off with this skill tree, and you see it right up over here. I got some example gameplay footage of the pits. I only got into about the 20s. I just got to like around level 90. So most of the stuff I played and experience I had was from even the lower level 60s and 70s and stuff like that. You level up really quick in this game. So we got the maybe around 20s on the pits. I did nightmare dungeons up into the 70s, which is super easy. When you're like in the 60s, you can do like nightmare tier like 40s and stuff like that with this build. And I do just want to point out, I have not really fully min-maxed this character. This is just as I was playing, this is kind of where I got to with what I found and along those lines. But we'll take a look at the aspects on the gear and all that good stuff as well, and the Paragon board super quick. So first of all, lunging strike I use kind of just as a little bit of an extra movement speed, or obviously incredibly early on, it's the one I went with too, just to kind of close the gap before you kind of start whirlwinding. And we go up into enhanced lunging strike. Just, you need those 2 points anyways. So coming down here, we're obviously going with Whirlwind. Right here, we got that capped out. We've got enhanced Whirlwind, and we have violent Whirlwind up here. So after whirlwinding for 2 seconds, deal 30% increased damage until canceled. You can kind of almost perpetually whirlwind with this build. Not quite, depends on how far the gap is between groups, but sometimes you can keep going and going and going. Now we have pressure point right here. Core skills have a 30% chance to make enemies vulnerable, just getting better chance for vulnerable to get more damage out in that way right there. We'll keep looking at the passives, why not? Right here we have imposing presence, so 18% additional max life. I decided to go ahead and cap that out. It can be up to you if you think you really want to do that or need to. Damage reduction from elites, 12% right there. Elites, they're kind of the ones that end up giving you any of the problems. Anyways, the general trash mobs don't really hurt you that much. Here we have Rallying Cry. So bellowing Rallying Cry increases movement speed by 30%, resource generation 58%. It also does help your nearby allies, but who really cares about them, am I right? So we just got 1 point into that. So next we go over to our Rallying Cry grants you Unstoppable from Enhanced Rallying Cry and Tactical Rallying Cry. Generates 20 Fury and additional 20% resource regeneration. So keeps your resource up a little bit right there. We're going with more shouts down here, and we have Challenging Shout. So taunts to nearby enemies, 40% damage reduction for the 7 seconds. We then have Enhanced Challenging Shout and come over to Tactical. So you gain 3 Fury each time you take damage, and you get hit from time to time when you're up close and personal, am I right? Heading down over here to the brawling skills, and guess what, fellas? We got another shout. We got Warcry right here. You deal 15% increased damage for 7.4 seconds. And then, of course, we got to come to some of the extras here. Enhanced Warcry, and then over to Power Warcry. So when at least 6 enemies are hit, your damage bonus increased by additional 10%. I mean, what kind of Warcry isn't going to hit at least 6 monsters? Now for a couple more passives here, we got Booming Voice. Your shout's duration effect is 24% increased. Great to have right there. We capped that out with the 3 points into that. Your shout skills cause enemies to deal 12% less damage. Little survivability on that. Why not, huh? Now I have a leap right here. This is probably one of the biggest problems with this build, and it sounds like a problem. It's really not a problem. It's a problem because it's so freaking good. Now you have to just keep going and going. As fast as you can run through a nightmare dungeon, you're clearing it. So I really just need some more movement. So I went ahead to use leap just so I can move faster from gaps. So I don't have to climb down ladders and stuff. I can just jump down super quick and keep moving. Or you can clear gaps. But also we come over to enhanced leap. So let's say you are just like clearing a gap or something, not attacking. The cooldown's reduced by 4 seconds, so you can use it even faster. And then also, sometimes at the very beginning of nightmare dungeons, you just have no resource, am I right? Or depending on what you're doing. So what I do is the first little pack, I see the first monster, I leap and hit him, boom, you get 40 resource, instantly start spinning it up and start whirlwinding, and then your resource just explodes because you get a ton of it when you're whirlwinding through monsters. So I really like using leap. There has been instances where I knew I was going into just fighting one hard monster, thought there might be a problem or something, I don't know. I tested it out a little bit, but anyways, you can pull these 3 points out of here if you want to, put points into Iron Skin right over here to get some more survivability, and then I just pull them out and swap it back because it only costs just a little bit right here. What is it? 27,000 gold to respec a point, which on this game is almost nothing, am I right? Next, coming over to weapons mastery, just some passives over here. We got pit fighter capped out, increased damage to close and damage reduced from distance. And we have all capped out of counteroffensive, thick-skinned, and defensive stance. Just some stuff to kind of help you out once again on those passives. We're going to read over all those. Ultimates, we ain't using one. I was using Wrath of Berserk. Perhaps you could swap that in for the leap instead of me using that leap. Like I said, I used to use Wrath of the Berserker. Decided I didn't really need to. I didn't need any of the boost from it, so scrap that. But for a couple of the passives, heavy-handed, because I almost exclusively pretty much always use these two-handed swords, and then also brute force overpower when you're using a two-handed weapon. Now down on the key passives. Now you could go with Unbridled Rage, so your core skills cost 100% more, but do 100% more damage. The thing is this didn't feel all that great. I went from never running out of the mana, or resource, excuse me, to kind of always running out and having to kind of babysit my resource. And it didn't seem like I was killing any faster, because really the main problem is movement speed because you're just laying waste to everything. So really I just come over here for 10% increased damage, and you never have the 3 damage bonuses active because you only ever use, excuse me, that was just a little bit off the screen there. You never swapping between the weapons. You're always just using the two-hander. So I just get the 10%, you know, X increased damage right there. You don't really do the bleeding, and up over here, increased berserking maximum duration. You could go with this one if you wanted to, but I decided just to stick with walking arsenal. Now I'm gonna go kind of quick here through the Paragon board, because really this isn't perfectly min-max. This is just my first go. This is what I went with, and it's working really dang good, as you see by the gameplay right up here. So went with the exploit glyph on the very first board you got. Seems to make sense there. Get enough dex to get up over. You get the secondary one as well. It gives increases to different vulnerable damages right there. Moving up to the next board, we have the decimator one right here. So each time you make an enemy vulnerable, your damage is increased by 10 for 5 seconds. Overpowering a vulnerable enemy grants another 10% right there. Thought this was a good one. Came up to the side over here. Got damage with two-handed slashing weapons. I always use that sword on the rare node there. Got this rare node here for physical damage increase right there. Vulnerable damage. We've got damage reduction from vulnerable enemies from those two right there. And with this glyph right here, you deal 13% increased damage for 4 seconds after creating a Dust Devil. And then with the 40 strength down there, you deal for every 5 strength with in this range, you deal 31% increased Dust Devil damage. So I have 253% increased Dust Devil damage. So that thing is rocking. You definitely got to have this glyph somewhere if you're rocking this particular one, this Twister glyph. Moving over to the left here, we went ahead with the Warbringer one. So for every 50 Fury spent, 15% of your max life is made into Fortify. Like that right there. The rare glyphs right here, damage while fortified. You're fortified like all the time, right? This one was just real close to where I was at, so I put a couple points to get some fire res up there. And then max Fury on kill. This board you pretty much have to use, I feel, because of this. Fury on kill, Fury on kill, Fury on kill, and then max Fury, max Fury, max Fury. Now up here for the glyph, we got Territorial. So gain 10% damage reduction against close enemies and 13% damage to close enemies. So we just got just enough here for the dex kind of to get those particular things there. Threw that in there, kind of helping us out. Over in this next board, we actually got Bone Breaker. So every 12 seconds, your next skill is guaranteed to overpower. You're getting that overpower damage. Down for the glyph, we have Wrath right here. Extra critical strike damage on this one, and skills that critical strike generate fury. So there's another way we're keeping our resource up anytime we're critical strike. For rare nodes, we got this bigger one here, damage reduction while healthy. We've got overpower damage on this one right here. One through the middle we come through, so damage while fortified and damage while healthy. And on our way up to the legendary node, we've got the bulwark one, damage reduction while fortified once again right there. And that's what I got for the Paragon board so far. Let's hop over to the gear and check out what we got there. All right, jump in. We'll take a look at what we got right here. On the helmet, I decided to put whirlwinds, periodically pull in the monsters, just a way of speeding it up. Obviously, just get whatever the best thing you can is for max life and strength. Here, I actually decided to put fire res on it in the tempering in order to get that more capped out, help out survivability, and automatically had the extra high stat of lightning there. We got some max life. So this isn't absolutely perfect. There's a few things I could do to it, and really a lot of the stats on the gear aren't absolutely perfect. But that's kind of the point, just kind of showing how good the build is, even though it's not perfectly min-max. Taking a look at the armor, I go ahead and just stuck in the amethyst right now just for the strength. That is the main stat. This one's actually a triple on the higher stats for this particular one. The cold, the life, and the max life, and the life per second, that is. Decided to go ahead and put total armor on here just to kind of cap my armor out at the top there. Chance to freeze, just put something on there, whatever I could. There aren't really a lot of great options for the second tempering on a lot of these armor pieces, shockingly enough. But when you cast a skill, you heal for 1.7 of your life. Double this bonus while below 50%. So while you're going ahead and casting stuff up, when you're using your whirlwind, there you go. Over here on the Gore's Devastating Grip, I decided to throw this on because it was a unique that I could actually use for this build, so I decided to rock it out. Got all the stuff there. You see 4 to whirlwind, but while whirlwinding, whirlwinds explode every 2 seconds and after it ends, dealing 35% of the base damage dealt to surrounding enemies as fire. So I got a perfect roll in the aspect, which is pretty nasty. It is a 925, and yeah, everything rolled pretty dang good on this, so I decided to go ahead and slap her on there. Taking a look at the pants, here we got each point of fury generated while at max fury grants 34 fortify. They got a perfect roll eventually, you know, you get to that point in this game. This one, you got the strength, you got the life, you got the armor, more total armor, and then just for a chance to slow on there. It does kind of help out with stagger, I guess, on bosses, and really you nuke everything so the regular monsters don't get touched by that very much. Here we got strength, life, movement speed, and then we got barrier generation, movement speed. I think this one I ended up getting kind of like stuck with barrier generation, so I decided whatever, it's a pretty good boot, so I left it there. But imprint, you gain 20% movement speed, you lose this for 4 seconds after taking damage. So this just kind of helps me move around more, especially in town or just running around when you're not getting hit or anything. Down, we'll jump up to the amulet first actually before we jump to the weapons. On the amulet, I decided to put your shouts create 3 dust devils. The amulet does get 1.5 like times your damage and stuff like that on these aspects, so it's 4,000 damage to enemies along their path. And don't forget, we do have all that plus extra damage in the Paragon board and things like that. Your dust devils are 27% bigger. You see what's on there. Really important on the amulet stuff up here to get resource cost reduction. So I did also want to get something with movement speed as well. You see we got poison, so that's how you want to have one of each of the resistances kind of around somewhere until everything's completely fully capped out, I suppose. But this way gets my resistance up. But max life, movement speed, damage to close enemies, everything's always going to be close, so that's kind of getting some of that damage up, you know, for chopping them things down. Taking a look at the amulet, I guess I don't have to drag them across for this particular one, but max life, crit, lucky hit, chance. This is one that I need to go ahead and kind of get a better one because I stopped using Wrath of the Berserker, so I have that tempered on there. But whenever a shout skill is cast, its cooldown is reduced by 1.9 seconds per nearby enemies up to a maximum of 6. You're hitting a ton of enemies, so that gets your cooldown shouts way more manageable. Hopping down to the next ring here. Love getting that extra enhanced stat or whatever it's called. I can't think of the name right off the bat right now, but the increased attack speed, damage, vulnerable damage, and just on the tempering, we got more damage and resource cost reduction. Pretty nasty ring if I don't say so myself. Your shout skills generate 7 primary resource per second while active. Went ahead and just stuck a topaz in there for now. I could always rip it out and get something better in it later, but I kind of wanted to make up the lightning just for the temporary basis. Later I will be putting some probably diamonds in there for all res just to kind of bump them all up so I can kind of get rid of you know, the ones that have like poison here and lightning there or whatever. But just for now, making up what I need right there. That's another key one for keeping your resource up because your shouts are kind of up perpetually essentially. So now looking at the weapons right here, we have on this particular one, we got the strength, max life, damage, damage to close enemies, and then Dust Devil size. I really would want Dust Devil damage, I suppose, but I decided to stick with Dust Devil size on this particular one. But I think this is important to get on one of your two-handed weapons. Whirlwinds leave behind Dust Devils that deal that much damage to enemies in their path, and I went ahead in all the weapons, I won't point it out again, but went ahead and stuck emeralds. I know there's higher ones I can get, but I haven't got around to it yet. Now I feel like if it's important to get this in two-handers, because if you didn't know, two-handers do 2x on the aspect. It makes them twice as powerful. So getting this in a two-hander is very important for this build, I feel. Then over here, we've got, after generating 100 fury, your next direct damage creates 2 Dust Devils. So essentially, that's going to be all the time because you're generating fury like constantly, just constantly. And once again, a lot of great stuff up here. Strength, life, some hit on life, damage to close enemies, and a chance to create dust devils cast twice, which is 13%. That one's pretty neat to have. Now over here for the two-handed sword, life, fury on kill, crucial to get in some places. Critical strike damage 90, nice. 195% dust devil damage. That's why I think it's going to be important, like this other two-hander, to get dust devil damage over here as well. When you can get 200% increased damage to your dust devil, which is crazy. On the next one, we got damage to close enemies. Whirlwind's critical strike chances increase by 14% for each second you channel it, up to 42%. So I feel like this is going to be crucial, very key, getting this particular aspect here and this particular aspect right here on this two-hander, so you can get the double effect from them. And to show you the stats right here, we got the armor cap is it 94 or 92? So we're like right there. And just kind of show you where everything lands. My resistances are almost capped here, except for Shadow. Oh, that one's a little bit tough. But you can see some of the other numbers down here. Critical strike damage and chance. I wish the chance was a little bit higher. And I think it can look a little bit higher, depending on how some of the other stuff is calculated. That some of it's you're not necessarily seeing in here, but overpower damage, vulnerable damage, all the different stuff falling in here. You can go ahead and pause and take a look wherever you want to. I'll just scroll over it real quick. So this build works dang great, and it's only going to get more powerful as, you know, the community and myself in general, everybody starts to really get the Barbarian min-maxed with those extra weapons, the extra aspects you get. I think this is going to be one of the best ones of the season once it gets fully fleshed out. So don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe up before you go. Peace out, fellas. Hey, hope you're enjoying the new season.